down for like several days, and I think he even slept like in the part of the city that we were nearest to where the homeless population lived. And he told me in our conversation that he was down there interviewing a lot of homeless people because he had noticed that a lot of homeless people often talk about religion or talk about God, or often feel that they are God. And he wanted to see if he went down and asked around if any of them knew where he could find God or something like that. He just kind of wanted to see where it would go, what they would say, and who they would point him to, and if he could interview that person, what that person might have to say. And he took notes, and I don't know what he did with that. I don't think it was included in any of those books because I feel like those books were already written. He might have put it into some of the emails and stuff, but again, I was young, and I remember the conversation. I remember him explaining to me what he was doing and why, and he had genuine, from my perspective, genuine curiosity about the origins of like life and humanity, and from my perspective, I would say I feel like that era of his life and the sobriety piece as well, I do believe from everything that I observed that he was attempting to know himself and maybe understand himself and humanity and perhaps his life and his past and his history. And he had a seemingly pretty intense childhood himself. And I got the real genuine sense that he was truly looking to find some answers. And while, during the time that he was interviewed for these documentaries, it seemed pretty clear, and I was told that he was, no longer sober. And he did mention when discussing his sobriety that when he was not sober, that drugs had a really strong negative effect on him and his personality. And in the work that I've done for years, I have definitely observed that there are some people whose brain chemicals really don't mix with drugs and alcohol, and it really brings out a lot of different things, including paranoia and schizophrenia and all sorts of things. THC is super dangerous as well. One thing I will say, and I'll come back to this in future stories because it'll be relevant for other things, but he did always have a fear or paranoia, or however you want to label that, of people coming onto the property, or of being, we'll just say he always had a lot of guns, and he always had a lot of dogs, and he always was big on protection, not just virus protection, but protection of the house and the property and himself. And so that was like an ongoing theme, I feel like, that was always there. And I can psychoanalyze that later in other discussions, but I will say that regardless of him meditating and doing breathing exercises and things like that, or breathing workshops and writing books and, having people come for these workshops and retreats and stuff, he did genuinely seem like he was in search of something, some kind of understanding. And I don't think he would have also allowed me to work with him as a student and have conversations with him about certain topics if he wasn't genuinely curious and if he wasn't genuinely looking for something, some kind of answers or revelation or whatever. And while that doesn't seem to have lasted, obviously, from what we've seen in later years, again, there's still a lot of wild sides to him, and those will come up in future vlog entries, if you will. But for this one, I just wanted to address that while he may or may not have said that to the producer. Again, the producer did want provocative content, and so he might have been engaging me to try to pull more out of me. I don't know. But according to the producer, John told him that that whole era and those books and all that was like just a total fake. But I don't think he was faking his strong commitment to sobriety, to everyone else being sober, to his research, his reading, his writing, his, workshops and silent meditation retreats and all that. That in no way looked fake to me. And unless he was developing a character or some sort of like method actor kind of role, I can't see how someone would sustain that for years if it was just a joke. But what do I know? I mean, he's a fascinating guy and lived 100 lifetimes in one, so could absolutely have been. Maybe we'll never know, I guess. But from my vantage point, I would say no. I think he was really searching for answers. It did appear that way to me.